supply chain issues are something we talk about all the time, but very few players have kind of the front row seat that you have. I know last month you all lowered your volume growth guidance for the full year, just not based on a lack of demand, but on all these supply chain issues. And I just wonder, where are the problems right now? Where are the biggest issues that you face?
For our business, we still face a couple of significant headwinds. They are chip shortages, which are predominantly shown to us in the automobile market, both inbound auto parts and outbound finished vehicles. And then in the international intermodal arena, there's been a fundamental change in behavior by the ocean carriers to try to make their international containers empty in the LA basin. Usually they would get on our railroad and go inland. Instead, they're becoming empty in LA, and that's really clogged up the LA basin, and it's reduced the demand for our services from the ports inland.
How do you deal with that? And when do you think things will normalize a bit, at least when it comes to those containers?
Such hell for what I said.
Well, on the container side, we are in constant dialogue with our ocean carrier customers and helping them understand that we're wide open right now, that the Union Pacific Railroad is fluid. Our dwell on the ports for boxes waiting to get to us is absolutely normal. And the dwell inland on our intermodal ramps in places like Chicago are pretty well normal right now. So we're open for business, and we're encouraging them, hey, if you bring the box to us, we'll make it empty inland and bring it back to you faster than your rotation is happening in LA.
Meaning that they're having trucker shortages and things right there, so they can't. I don't understand the logistics of where that problem is and why it's not getting turned faster.
Yeah, Becky, the problem is there's not enough trucking capacity in the LA basin to take it off dock to a what's called a transload facility. Mm-hmm. And then there's not enough labor and transload capacity to take an international box, empty it out, and then put it into a truck or a domestic container. So all of those shortages are making boxes, international containers, dwell on the port, and then again when they're trying to get processed through transload or warehouse services.
Lance, we had a congressman from Florida on earlier today, and he's introduced a bill in Congress where he'd like to use some of the leftover COVID money to pay shippers, basically, to go through the Panama Canal, and instead of waiting in line to get into some of these West Coast ports, move the ships around to the East Coast where they have plenty of space, he says, plenty of truckers. I can't imagine that's something you'd love because you don't have railroad lines that run all the way to Florida.
Well, it's not in our self-interest, of course, but it's also, I think, ill-advised for the economy, for the country. Right now, there are ample capacities to be able to take containers to the East Coast or to the West Coast, and those containers tend to go where they want to go. That is, there's a lot of demand on the West Coast and the LA basin specifically, so there's a big reason for a lot of that ship capacity to hit LA, and part of the ship's going to be local or near local, and then part of the ship's going to come inland. In partnership with railroads like Union Pacific, we have an excellent supply chain in normal times to get product inland. What's happened in these abnormal times is we're having an impact on our workforces through COVID and other reasons. And then we've had a number of other impacts, like a 30% uptick in the demand through e-commerce on imports trying to get into the LA ports. This will be figured out. It's in the process of being figured out. I've shared with you this morning that the railroad part of the supply chain, the middle mile, is ready to go. And I think other pieces are going to be figured out as well. We need more labor to get into the jobs in truck driver seats and in warehouses.